Hello and welcome to the Revision Mic, your go-to podcast for acing your A-level religious studies exams. I'm Archie.
And I'm Amelia. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that is fundamental for the philosophy of religion paper, ancient philosophical influences.
That's right. We're talking about the two heavyweights of ancient Greek thought, Plato and his student, Aristotle. It might seem strange to start a religion course 2,500 years ago in Athens, but trust us, their ideas are absolutely everywhere in theology and philosophy.
Exactly. They set the stage for how Western culture has thought about God, the soul, reality, and our purpose in the universe for centuries. Understanding them is key to unlocking so many other topics on the course.
So, let's start with the master himself, Plato. Amelia, can you kick us off with his big idea, the theory of forms?
Of course, Plato believed that the world we see around us, the physical world we experience with our senses, is not the real world. He saw it as a shadow, a poor imitation of a higher, more perfect reality.
Right, so this pen I'm holding isn't truly real.
In a way, yes. For Plato, it's a copy. The real thing is what he calls a form. This higher reality is the world of forms, a transcendent, unchanging realm that contains the perfect blueprints for everything that exists in our world.
So there's a perfect form of a pen.
And a perfect form of a dog, a tree, and even abstract concepts like justice and beauty. Every dog you see is just a particular instance, a flawed copy, participating in the one perfect form of dogness. We recognize it as a dog because our souls, according to Plato, have a memory of this perfect form from before we were born.
That makes sense. It explains why we can see thousands of different dogs, poodles, labradors, terriers, and all recognize them as a dog. We're recognizing the form.
Precisely. And at the very top of this hierarchy of forms is the most important one of all, the form of the good.
And the form of the good is like the ultimate source of everything else, right?
Yes, Plato compared it to the sun. Just as the sun illuminates the physical world so we can see, the form of the good illuminates the other forms, allowing us to understand them through reason. The sun also gives life and growth. Similarly, the form of the good is the source of all reality and knowledge. It's the ultimate truth.
And Plato illustrates all of this with his famous allegory of the cave. It's a story every RS student needs to know inside out.
Okay, let's break it down. Imagine a group of prisoners chained in a cave their whole lives, facing a blank wall.
Yeah?
Behind them, there's a fire, and people are walking past carrying puppets. The fire casts shadows of these puppets onto the wall. For the prisoners, these shadows are their entire reality. They don't know anything else.
The shadows represent our physical world, what we perceive with our senses.
Exactly. Now, one prisoner is freed. He's forced to turn around, see the fire and the puppets, and it's painful and confusing. His reality is shattered. He's then dragged out of the cave into the outside world.
This journey out of the cave symbolizes the philosopher's journey towards knowledge. It's difficult and requires leaving behind everything you thought you knew.
Outside, he's blinded by the sunlight, but slowly his eyes adjust. He sees the real objects, the trees, the animals, for the first time. This is him beginning to comprehend the world of forms. Finally, he's able to look at the sun itself.
The sun, which represents the form of the good, the ultimate source of truth and reality. The philosopher now has true knowledge, or what Plato calls episteme, not just opinion, doxa. If he goes back to the cave to tell the others, they'll think he's mad and probably kill him.
Which is a nod to what happened to his teacher, Socrates. So for Plato, true knowledge is gained through reason and philosophy, not the senses. The aim is to escape the cave of our physical world and grasp the true reality of the forms.
A perfect summary. Now, let's turn to Plato's most brilliant student, who took a completely different approach, Aristotle.
Right. If Plato was looking up to the heavens, to the world of forms, Aristotle was looking right here, at the world around us. He was an empiricist, meaning he believed knowledge comes from sensory experience.
Totally. He wasn't interested in some otherworldly reality. He wanted to understand the purpose and cause of things in this world. This leads to his idea of teleology.
Teleology is just a fancy word for the study of purpose or goals. Telos is the Greek word for end or purpose. For Aristotle, everything in the natural world has a telos. An acorn's telos is to become an oak tree. A knife's telos is to cut.
Uh-huh.
To fully understand something, he argued we need to know its four causes.
Okay, let's run through them quickly with an example. Say a statue. The material cause is the stuff it's made of, the marble.
Right. The formal cause is the shape or structure, the design the sculptor had in mind.
The efficient cause is the agent that brings it about, the sculptor and her tools.
And finally, and most importantly for Aristotle, the final cause. This is its telos, its purpose, perhaps to be a piece of art or to honor a god.
So this teleological worldview, this idea that everything has a purpose and is moving towards some kind of end goal, leads Aristotle to a very famous conclusion about the universe itself.
Yes, the prime mover.
Exactly. Aristotle observed that everything in the universe is in motion or a state of change, an acorn changing into a tree or rock falling. He reasoned that everything that moves must be moved by something else. You can't have an infinite chain of movers going back forever because then there would be no first mover to start the chain.
Right, that's an infinite regress. It's illogical.
So there must be something at the beginning of the chain that causes motion without being moved itself, an unmoved mover. This is the prime mover.
And what is this prime mover? It's not like the God of the Bible, is it?
Not at all. The prime mover is the ultimate final cause. It doesn't push the universe, it pulls it. It causes motion by attraction.
Like how a cat is drawn to a saucer of milk, or how a celebrity attracts a crowd.
Perfect analogy. The prime mover is perfect, eternal, and unchanging. Because it's perfect, it can only think about the most perfect thing, itself. It's pure thought, thinking about thought. It is completely unaware of our universe and has no interaction with it.
So it's a very impersonal, detached cause of all things. Okay, so we've got Plato's transcendent world of forms and the form of the good, and Aristotle's immanent prime mover, the final cause of the universe. The big question for the exam is how do these ideas influence later religious belief?
This is the crucial link. Let's start with Plato. Early Christian thinkers like St. Augustine were hugely influenced by him. The idea of a perfect, unchanging, transcendent reality, the world of forms, maps really nicely onto the concept of heaven.
That makes sense. And the form of the good as the ultimate source of reality and truth sounds a lot like God, right? The source of all goodness.
Absolutely. Also, Plato's idea that our physical bodies are inferior prisons for our immortal souls became a really central idea in Christian theology. The focus is on the spiritual, not the physical.
Okay, so what about Aristotle?
Aristotle became hugely important later on, especially for medieval thinkers like Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas took Aristotle's arguments and adapted them to prove the existence of the Christian God.
Ah, so the cosmological argument.
The very same. Aquinas' first three ways are basically Aristotle's arguments from motion and causation, but he labels the conclusion God. The idea of an unmoved mover or an uncaused cause is pure Aristotle.
But there's a key difference. Aquinas' God is a personal creator God who cares about humanity. Aristotle's prime mover is completely detached and impersonal. That's a vital evaluation point for an essay.
A brilliant point. So you can see how both philosophers provided the intellectual toolkits for theologians to describe God's nature: transcendent, perfect, unchanging, eternal, the ultimate cause. And another key area where they provided that toolkit, and one with huge implications for religious ideas of an afterlife, is their view on the human soul.
Okay, let's shift gears into exam mode. A classic question could be something like Plato's understanding of reality is more convincing than Aristotle's. Discuss. How would you tackle that, Archie?
Great question. First, your introduction needs to be sharp. Define the key terms, Plato's rationalism and his two-world view versus Aristotle's empiricism and his focus on the physical world. Then, state your line of argument clearly, which one you find more convincing and why.
Okay, body paragraphs?
I'd have one paragraph outlining Plato's view, explain the forms, use the allegory of the cave, and highlight its strengths. For example, it explains why we see imperfections in the world and why we all share concepts of justice and beauty. Then, a paragraph on Aristotle. Explain the four causes and the prime mover. Its strength is that it's grounded in observation of the natural world. It seems more scientific and common sense.
And then the crucial evaluation part.
Exactly. This is where you get the top marks. You directly compare them. You could criticize Plato by asking, is there actual evidence for the world of forms? It seems overly complicated. Why have two worlds when one will do? You could praise Aristotle for providing a framework that led to scientific inquiry.
Conversely, you could criticize Aristotle. Does everything really have a purpose? What's the purpose of a rock or a genetic disease? His teleology can be questioned. Plato's view, while abstract, might better explain our innate sense of morality.
Yes, then a clear conclusion that doesn't just summarize, but reaffirms your judgment based on the arguments you've made. That's an A-grade answer structure right there.
Fantastic. Well, that's all we have time for today on ancient philosophical influences. We've covered Plato's forms and his cave, Aristotle's teleology and his prime mover, and how they both shaped religious thought for millennia.
We hope that's helped clear things up. Remember, getting these core ideas straight is the foundation for so much else in the course. Thanks for tuning in to the Revision Mite.
If you found this useful, subscribe and like, please. See you next time.